Hey there world, I'm the Courageous Goldfish, and it is 2023! Congratulations, we've made it. At the turn of every new year, it is a tradition in the figure collecting community to look back on your favorite releases from the last year, or look ahead to pre-orders that you're really excited about for the coming year. But this year, I was left with one very interesting question. Generally, people like to reflect upon the positive things, like a pre-order they were really excited about that turned out super good, or any kind of random pickups that they picked up that they're glad that they added to their collections, all that kind of stuff. It's the time of the year to be looking at your collection and going, year in review. However, I was curious what the community thought the worst figures of 2022 were. You know, the ones that you had high hopes for that just didn't turn out just quite right. Of course, as an avid participator in this community, I had a few come to mind myself, but I was curious what the community had to say about it, and so I posted an open forum on my figure collection asking people what they thought the worst figures of the year were. And I will be honest, you guys had some really interesting things to say. So today we're gonna sit down and go through what you guys have deemed are the worst figures of 2022. The very first comment comes from Tiny Seal on MFC, and they said, the one that hurt me the most is this Madoka. She's so beautiful, fair priced, and I would get her in a heartbeat, but the quality control is just terrible. And honestly, I have to agree with them. I personally myself did think about purchasing this figure. I'm actually really into Yokata figures at the moment, and I've been meaning to rewatch Madoka Magica, so I was like, maybe this is my chance. She was fairly priced for an FNEX figure, especially a Yukata figure from FNEX, so 17,000 was not too big of an ask for this one. I did seriously consider it, and Tiny Seal was right. There should be nothing wrong with this figure. The prototype is nice, the price is right, people really liked it and were excited for it. However, unfortunately, the quality control was just absolute dog shit for this figure. One of the most common issues that this figure has, so I've been told, is that the foot pegs are generally pretty loose. That's a common problem with this figure, and so because she is kind of pitched forward in like her pose and the sculpt of the figure, the weight just topples her right over off the base. Another super duper common issue with this figure is the bow on the front. I've heard that some people have had to use hair dryers to open up the hole so they'd be able to get it in there. I've heard other people having the opposite problem where the hole is too loose and so the bow doesn't stay in there. I've seen people super gluing this shit. I've seen people sticky tacking this shit. Like, it's just, it should not have to be this way. If you're gonna make a figure, especially FNEX, who usually does pretty good quality figures, they should not be having these kinds of issues. Another pitfall for this figure is some people have reported sloppy paintwork, especially considering the pattern on her yukata. This seems to be a little bit less so than the like fitting together problems. Most people have said that she's really gorgeous, aside from the fact that she keeps falling apart, which is obviously unacceptable. However, flawed paintwork is a little bit more of a con in my opinion, because that you can't really fix. Seems to be about a 20% to 80% ratio of people having paintwork issues with this figure, so I'm not gonna say if you buy this figure that you will have paint issues with it. It's just been something that people have reported having happened. Honestly, gotta agree with Tiny Seal on this one. Everything about this says that it should have been a good figure. There didn't seem to be any red flags, and especially when it's concerned with FNEX, they're known for making good figures. So I'm really confused why this one bombed so hard. Moving right along, Kadame says, I know posting Beeful is cheating, but this one was bad even for them. The Hands of Nightmares. This is the original Kuro Bunny Kohai-chan 1/7 mask version, and I actually have never seen this figure before, so we're gonna have to do some investigation. Oh my god. Oh my god! No, come on. This is actually terrible. How come I never heard of this one? Oh my god, okay, because the prototype photos, I can understand why somebody would want to purchase it. The prototype photos look great, and so I'm looking at the prototype and I'm thinking, it can't be that bad. Like, yeah, I know Beeful is not like the greatest ever, but that's not terrible, right? Like, if it's kind of similar, it's not like the worst. This is just absolutely straight up an abomination. Oh my god. You can see the glue on the collar, specifically in this photo, probably not for all of the figures, but that just points to how terrible the quality control is on these. Oh my god. You can very clearly see that the paint is like horribly textured. You can see that like all over all the painted parts. Her eye decals look terrible. Oh my god. I'm seeing a lot of bleeds. I'm seeing super shitty paintwork. I really hope that these photos are doctored in some way to make her look worse, because if that is actually what she looks like in real life, I would be asking for a refund. Oh my god. That is actually traumatizing. Oh, please, 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 please tell me that that is not her real hand. Please tell me that's not her real hand. That is actually traumatizing. Oh my god. It looks like E.T. Oh my goodness. Why did they send that out? Honestly, why did they not just delay it however long they needed to delay it to be able to put out a product that even looked close to what the promotional photos looked like? Did it get delayed? I didn't even pre-order this figure. I've never seen this figure before, and I'm actually like, if you ordered this, if you have this in your collection, I personally want to say that I'm sorry for you. That's horrible. Kadame, you really got me on that one. Oh my god, that's horrible. Boba the Destroyer replied to Kadame's comment saying, I will never get those fingers out of my mind. And you know what? Thank you for posting this figure, because now neither will I. Kadame then replied to that and said, chicken feet. Yeah, you didn't have to say that, but you did, and now I'm never gonna be able to unsee it. We all know that this year was not GSC's year for Nendoroids. They just kind of started going out the window with quality. They're way, way, way more expensive now for way less accessories. I'm not a Nendoroid person from the get-go, and so I will find any reason to crap on the Nendoroid franchise. However, this year especially, I was more in tune than ever with how absolutely dog shit some of these releases can be. Obviously, some of them are like just a little bit off, like the Ryza Nendoroid, Atelier Ryza. I think I've talked about this one before, but some of her faceplates were like printed off center, which, how does that happen, first of all? But the absolute worst, in my opinion, for multiple reasons, which we'll get into, but the absolute worst Nendoroid that I saw this year in terms of quality control, Mikey from Tokyo Revengers. I don't even need to say it, most of you probably were already thinking of that one. Misty, the self-proclaimed confused Nendo addict, says the infamous item number Mikey Nendoroid. Quality control literally went out the window for this one. People did recently complain about small flaws and errors in their Nendoroids, but that was just the beginning. This case, the whole Nendoroid is a big error. It shat itself so much that people are not even sure about his Nendoroid doll. What if it will be that bad as well? And Misty, I gotta agree with you. I actually watched a figure YouTuber that I follow open this one up when it came out, and I was actually shell-shocked. The pieces do not fit together. The paintwork is just like terrible. He overall just looks like a bootleg, and that just should not be happening when you are buying such an expensive product. Obviously, yes, this Nendoroid is not horrifically priced. Nendoroid prices have been going up and up and up and up recently, so 5,000 yen is not actually a terrible price for this Nendo, but you could not pay me to own this Nendoroid. It is just like, I don't understand how they thought that it was acceptable to send this out in this condition. It looks like a bootleg, it is a bootleg. The bootlegs probably fit together better than the official Nendoroid. The reason why I think people were super duper upset about this one specifically is that usually when it comes to manufacturers of Nendoroids, you can kind of go, oh yeah, you know, Toy Tech's making that one, it's probably not going to turn out as good, blah blah. But Orange Rouge has a really good reputation when it comes to male Nendoroids, and that I think is why people were so blindsided and so upset about how terrible this one came out. By all accounts, it should have been fine. The promotional photos look fine. The company, the Orange Rouge, should have been fine. The price it's not outrageous for an Nendoroid. So I do not understand how they crapped the bed so hard with this, especially considering that Tokyo Revengers is a pretty big franchise. I personally haven't watched it, it's on my list right now, but it was beloved by a lot of people in the season that it came out, and so I'm really surprised that they didn't put any more care and attention into this Nendoroid than they did. Kaiko replied to Misty's comment and said, "This was the same one I was thinking about as well. When I first got him, I seriously thought I had a bootleg. Everything is off with this one. The arms don't fit or fall out, the hair pieces don't fit at all. It's just terrible. Which is such a shame because Mikey deserves better." Honestly true. However, I would say to this person, have you seen the new Mikey scale that just got announced at the last Won Hobby? On a sidebar with that Mikey, I'm actually super duper excited to see that because A, more male character figures getting love, and B, I just think the concept of using the manga cover is really cool. I think it was FNex or something like that that did that Gojo one a little while back that everybody loved. I just think it's really neat, and especially when it comes to male characters, if they're gonna make figures, they need to make them dynamic, and I think that the manga cover is a good way to start. Wavala Croy has a lot to say about this Miku noodle stopper. I still like her well enough so she's not the worst, but this Miku is pretty low quality even for a noodle stopper. Definitely one of my most underwhelming purchases of the year. Her face in particular is just not very good because her nose and mouth are really undefined and disappear when viewing from just a few feet away. The shiny plastic of her hair also really doesn't help. Even though the sculpt is good, it's baffling to me because this is such an easy home run design. If they'd done it as a prize or even as a scale, I think they would have gotten just as many sales, even if it needed to be more expensive. I sort of wonder if she was originally produced to be a bit bigger and then some moron executive decided they needed to cut corners and make her smaller to reduce material cost per unit. That was a very technical answer, and I really appreciate that, Guavela Croy. That is a very well put together answer, and honestly, again, I agree. I also considered potentially picking this one up because I thought she was really cute. I really liked her outfit. I love pastel color schemes, and so this was something that was right up my alley. But something that I've been doing recently is waiting for release on prize figures so that I can see user photos of them to pick and choose which ones I think turned out well. Glad that I abstained on picking up this one because, yeah, she was just terrible. I saw photos when she came out and it was just like, yeah, it's a prize figure, and so you can't have too high of an expectation for these things. However, when it comes to noodle stoppers, generally the Miku ones are pretty good, and so again, this is another situation like the Mikey Nendoroid where it's like you should have had trust. You should have had trust. Most of the Furyu noodle stoppers come out pretty good, and so I think people had trust in that and pre-ordered this one thinking it was going to be the same, and it just very obviously was not, and that's so disappointing because she's really cute. Looking at these user photos here, the paint job is just astronomically horrible. I can't believe that they sent this out again. However, this Miku looks pretty much exactly the same as the bunny scale that we just talked about from Beeful. Like, looking at these user photos side by side, that is the same quality paint job that people got for 13,000 yen. So, you know, it could have been a bigger L, but this is definitely an L for sure. If you own this, I'm sorry. It should have turned out cute. It looks really cute. It should have turned out cute, and it didn't. Instead, she's better used for fire starter. Please don't start fires with plastic. We are living on a hunk of floating space rock that we are terribly abusing. Please do not do that. I actually can't believe that I completely forgot to talk about this one. This is one of the Furyu scales that came out for Miku this year. This is the Pia Pro Characters Hatsune Miku Sweet Sweets Choco Mint version. And I actually almost pre-ordered this one too. I think she's really cute. I love her facial expression and her outfit is just adorable. But unfortunately, she also turned out very bad. Paint job is just not there. Again, quality control who? Like, it's just, this is so disappointing. She would have been so cute, but yeah, just thought I'd mention her. Kizato says, this one isn't a big deal, but a purchase I ended up regretting. Lovely sculpt, but much smaller than I expected, and sadly he continuously fell over because he was supposed to balance on one knee, but often failed to do so. Not a great design. And the figure in question is this Naruto Shippuden Hatake Kakashi GEM version. Honestly, that does surprise me just a little bit because, to be completely transparent, I have a GEM figure in my collection and she's one of my favorites. Obviously, Mega House is one of those love-hate relationships. Some people really love it, some people really hate it. They can be a little bit 50-50 when it comes to quality. However, recently I've been hearing that Mega House has been stepping it up a notch, and so I'm actually quite surprised to hear that you had such a bad experience with this Kakashi figure. Yeah, honestly, looking at these user photos, he doesn't look terrible. Like, the sculpt seems nice, it looks detailed, he's got some shading in his paintwork. It doesn't seem terrible. However, I think what this person was describing was more of a like structural issue where he was falling over a lot, which could be absolutely super duper annoying. I know that firsthand because I have the Aquamarine 1/7 scale Xenon and I like that figure. It's fine. I'm not gonna be selling her. However, she is quite annoying because every time I move her or bump into my Detolf or anything like that, the bullets fall out of her hand and it is so annoying, and it does definitely detract from the enjoyment you have of having a figure when it is like unstable or like you're afraid to move it or something like that. So I totally understand where this person is coming from with this critique about this figure. We have seen worse in this thread, however. And so for this one, I'm gonna say it's not terrible. It's not terrible. Mr. Riot says, don't even know if this figure is out because I've seen 0 pics of her being owned by anyone, but the release date was September of this year, so I would say this figure. The face looks like Shinji's, not Asuka's. The anatomy of Asuka's body is just horrible, and it's just really expensive for a figure with that many flaws. And they are talking about this Evangelion Shin Gekijoban Soryuu Asuka Langley 1/4 scale by Unique Art Studio. Now, I have to admit to you that I have actually never seen Evangelion. I know that is like, especially when it comes to these mass-produced characters like Asuka, like Rem, like Miku, these companies really need to put the effort into making sure that they look good, because you are entering a very competitive market when you are making an Asuka, making a Rem, making a Miku. There are just so many options out there for people who love these characters, and so if you don't nail it, if your figure doesn't look like the character, or if there are better options out there that people like more, they're just gonna go for that. Obviously, right off the bat, she is a 1/4 scale, which is sometimes a really huge selling point for people because they like the bigger scale. However, there was a prize 1/4 scale Asuka and Rei that just came out that people are really excited about because those ones turned out really well and they're super affordable for 1/4 scales. So honestly, like, this one's not even unique in the 1/4 scale department. So I don't see why anyone would be ordering this, to be completely honest with you, because you're right. She looks weird. To be completely fair with you, I am not the best judge of whether or not it looks like Shinji in an Asuka cosplay because, again, I've never seen it. However, what I will critique is the body sculpt because, like, come on, what is that torso? It looks like she was made out of clay and then some kid took her by the feet and by the head and just kind of like stretched her out in the middle. She is not anatomically correct. And I am not generally a person that needs my anime figures to be anatomically correct. Anime as an art form is very subjective. A lot of the times the women are drawn with insane body proportions. However, this is just like weird to the eye. You know what I mean? Like, it sticks out so much to me, and it's not drawn that way because it's like the anime style. It just looks weird. It just straight up looks weird. And that's the thing that I can't get over about this figure. Like, sure, obviously the face for an Evangelion fan would be like, ugh. But she looks fine. To me, anyways. Aside from that, if I had this figure, I would not be able to overlook that. That would just be the only thing I would see, is that her torso is like 2 times longer than it needs to be. No way are people paying 80,000 yen for that. No way. Are you kidding me? That's crazy. Is that like a normal price, or am I just weird? People in the comments are basically saying the same thing. Like, I don't see the issue. I like the pouty face, but she does look like Shinji, lol. If I ever get this, I will just straight up pretend it's Shinji in an Asuka wig. That is some horrible anatomy. What the fuck is that torso? But with the Destroyer says, what is that torso? She looks like she's made out of stretched chewing gum. And you know what? You're right, Boba. You're correct. However, there are some people that are going up to bat for this Asuka. I think she's too expensive, but I don't really get the hate for this figure either. I think she looks fine. So, Mothy Core, you can go down with that ship. Personally, okay, so technically this one did not come out this year, but it did go up for pre-order. And so Shunko says, I still can't get over how bland, basic, and expensive this Makima scale is. And this is the FNEX 17 scale Makima. Honestly, yeah, I was thinking about this one as well when I was thinking about putting this video together. I didn't really want to talk about this one, to be honest, because I was thinking to myself, I'm like, you know, it's FNEX, they always look really weird in the promotional photo stage. Like, usually they turn out better. She's coming out next September. I won't talk about her. However, the more that I look at it, the more I just get mad, because to be completely honest with you, this is like, I don't even know where to start. I personally am quite invested in Makima. I think she's one of the most interesting characters in Chainsaw Man. I am an anime only. Please don't spoil anything. However, at the moment she is very mysterious and like basically godly. And so I'm very, very interested. I'm interested in Makima. And so I really hate to see her be done so dirty. This face is just not it. I mean, listen, when it comes to Chainsaw Man, it's difficult because a lot of them don't have like a lot of movement. Like, we never see Makima fight. She just kind of like sits and does things, you know? Like, she's not really involved in any of the action fights, and so, you know, it's kind of difficult to create a scale figure off of a character that doesn't really move. However, this face is just not right. It looks strange to me. I know she has weird eyes, but it looks very flat to me. The pose is not inspiring at all. She's literally just standing there. I've not really got a whole lot to say about the base. I mean, it's fine. It could be worse. However, where the issue really comes in, I could see a figure like this being priced at like 15 to 17,000 in today's economy for figures. Like, that's what I would say. Looking at this is comparable to figures I see being put up for like 15 to 17K. This one is 27,000 yen. The next figure that I'm getting in the next week or so is my bare leg Erza bunny. And so I got a quarter scale bare leg bunny for less than this figure costs. And that is absolutely insane to me, because there is nothing interesting or compelling about this Makima at all. The audacity that FNEX has to charge that much for this. The Chainsaw Man license can't be that expensive. Obviously, nobody wants to see the hobby get more and more expensive. We're all tired. Regular scales are going for 20,000. Do you remember when 20,000 for a scale was like unheard of? Obviously, it is difficult when a character doesn't move too much to create a really dynamic pose that hits it home like, hey, this is Makima, you know? I can understand how that would be sort of difficult. However, just a couple of days ago, Freeing made the announcement for the Chainsaw Man bunnies. And this is Makima's. Look at that bunny. Come on. Like, this is the Makima Freeing bunny. She is so much more interesting. Her face is so much nicer. Her hair sculpt is like noticeable. She's cute. She looks nice. But it also still looks like Makima. And that's a great, like, I don't understand why FNEX thinks that they can charge that kind of a price for that uninspired of a figure. The FNEX one is 27,000. This one is 35,000. You could pay 8,000 yen more and get the bunny over the 1/7. I don't get it. FNEX, fix your shit. This is horrible. Fumiya says, I've only ever collected Nendoroids of characters I liked, but this item and this item really pushed me into disliking most Nendoroids. GSC has really had a creative dip in 2022. I know 25G Miku doesn't express emotion all that much, but come on, why would you want a Nendoroid to sit completely still on your shelf? I've never seen My Dress Up Darling, but the Mara Nendoroid is one of my least favorites of all time. It's just so bland. Herg. This one is one that I don't necessarily agree with. I think in terms of Nendoroids, obviously, they have had a huge creative dip in 2022. Nendoroids are getting more expensive, they're not coming with as many accessories, and honestly, this seems to be a matter of opinion more than anything else. I don't personally think that these ones are any worse than any of the other Nendoroids that have gone up for PO. This Miku, again, like, yeah, She's supposed to be a little bit depressed, I think. I think this is like bland goth Miku, maybe. She's got like gray hair. It's weird. I don't know the whole story with that. I don't play Colorful Stage, and so maybe someone can fill in the blanks that I'm missing here. She doesn't look awful. Again, it's not great, right? Like we're not expecting greatness from GSC here, right? You know, it's whatever. However, I will vehemently disagree with their criticism of the Marin Nendoroid because, again, this is just another matter of personal opinion. I like the Marin Nendoroid and I actually seriously considered POing it. I think it looks like her. I like that they put the detail into her earrings. I think her faceplates are cute. And honestly, she comes with more useful accessories than a lot of the other Nendoroids that have gone up for PO recently. So to be honest, I think the Marin criticism is a little uncalled for. However, again, it's really just a matter of personal opinion, and I do definitely agree that Nendoroids have been going way downhill recently. Now, I was expecting this. People have a lot of opinions about Pop-Up Parade. Me personally, I've had a complicated relationship, but overall has been positive. I am a supporter of Pop-Up Parade. I think it's doing decent things. However, I understand people's ire for it, and I totally understand the criticisms. So I was expecting to see some Pop-Up Parade hate comments. I was expecting it. I was ready. Because yeah, some of the ones that came out this year were pretty The one that came to my mind first was obviously the Eren Yeager. I knew that this one was bad. I knew it was terrible. He looks like a chewed up, wadded up piece of chewing gum. To be completely honest with you, he is absolutely terrible. I hate that there's no shading on the skin, so he just looks like flat and uninspired. There's absolutely no way that that face should have made it out of the prototype stage. He's just overall very, very bad. Very bad. And I thought it couldn't get worse. I said to myself, yeah, that was pretty bad. However, it's one out of like however many pop-up parades have come out this year. I was expecting some pop-up parade hate. What I was not expecting was that half of the comments on this thread are people going back and forth about the same figure. You guys went hard. You guys went hard in on this figure. So I gotta say, you guys unanimously decided that this is the worst figure of 2022. Melioda Beth was the first one to post in the thread about this particular figure. Many people have replied, many people have spoken their piece on this figure, and so if you will give me a little drum roll in your mind, the worst figure of 2022, as chosen by you guys in the MFC thread, is the Pop-Up Parade 02. You guys, this thing, again, this is one that I never heard about. I heard about the Eren, it was going all around the internet. I was like, yeah, that's bad, but it can't really get worse, can it? This is just absolutely insane. Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So Melioda Beth says, good question, the 02 Pop-Up Parade comes to mind right away. Elijah also replied to this comment and said, second this one, she literally looks like a bootleg. Panda Roll says, same, that one achieved legendary status within days of release. Rainbow Mint says, I swear this figure managed to completely ruin the reputation of Pop-Up Parades. Ever since she released, I see way more wary comments on the new Pop-Up Parade releases. Popaz says, this was my first Pop-Up Parade and it single-handedly managed to never ever make me dare pre-order another one. Waiting for user photos is the way for me now. Fair enough. I also do this when it comes to prize figures. For me personally, when it comes to Pop-Up Parades, the only ones I really buy anymore are the Urza ones, and I don't really care how those turn out. They usually turn out fine anyways, but you know, I'm gonna buy them whether or not they're or not. So, you know, it doesn't really matter for me. But this is a good way to go if you are apprehensive, because some Pop-Up Parades can turn out really, really nicely. So I wouldn't want to like completely discount Pop-Up Parades from people's collections just because of a couple of bad ones. But yeah, this is solid advice. Miss Mags says, 02 Pop-Up Parade. I read the review posted here about a month ago and she's just so bad. QC who? Yeah, Pretty much. Jester Riot then replied to Miss Mags and Meliodas Elizabeth and said, does anyone even know why this specific pop-up even came with a different base? Now this was something I've never heard of before, but apparently some of the pop-up parades this year have been coming out on like puck-shaped black bases instead of the god-awful hexagonal ones that Pop-Up Parade is known for. And this was really weird to me because they have been going really hard for these hexagonal bases. It's like a joke within the community that we all hate these weirdly shaped bases. No one likes them, no one supports it, they choose weird colors. It's just, it's not everyone's favorite. However, this was intriguing to me because I'd never heard of them using a base that was not hexagonal. And I looked at these user photos and it's actually crazy. Like, why did they decide to move away from the hexagonal base to this? Like, this is almost worse in my opinion. Like, at least the hexagonal, it was like kind of a moment. It was like, you know, it's a pop-up parade if it's on that kind of base. It had like brand recognition, I guess. But that is just like, that is a prize figure base. That is like a $10 prize figure base. And it's just ridiculous in my opinion. Crazy, crazy, crazy. And so Miss Mags replied and said, you know, I forgot she came on a hockey puck instead of a hexagonal base, Lamau. I can only think that it was a numbers issue. Maybe GSC didn't have enough pink material to make all the bases, so they went with the pucks instead. That's a really lazy explanation if that's true. It seems really, really weird for them as a brand, as a pop-up parade brand that is expanding into the large and the extra large, that they would let the bar drop so low that they just wouldn't order more material, delay it, make it a different color. They could have made it white. They could have made a white plastic base and people would have probably been happier than the hockey puck that you came on. Rainbow Mint then replied and added some additional context. They said, pop-up parade bases seem to be in a weird situation. This Miku large had the original base in the prototype but ended up with a puck, while the Guts large came out a month later and kept the regular base. Or Chun-Li and Kyoko Sakura released the same day, but Chun-Li has a puck and Kyoko has a regular base. And honestly, yeah, I don't have a solid answer for that, to be completely honest with you. That concerns me, especially if there's inconsistency on which ones come with pucks, which ones come with hexagonal bases. To be entirely 100% real with you, I don't hate the hexagonal bases. They're not my favorite, but honestly, this whole puck situation just cheapens the look of the figure way, way, way more in my opinion. I personally think that if they're going to start doing this for Pop-Up Parade bases, then they should be putting what base it comes with in the prototype information so that people know what they're buying when they're pre-ordering. I think these people are not too far off the mark when they're complaining about the puck base. I don't really like it either. But aside from the whole base situation, this Pop-Up Parade is just stupid. Like, she looks like she's been run over by a truck. I don't know what they're doing with this face. It is like absolutely tragic. She does look bootlegged. It's very bad. It's very, very unacceptable in my opinion. And the other thing too is her paint job is like stupid. My experiences with Pop-Up Parade have generally been pretty good, especially with paintwork. Obviously, the ones that I bought in 2020, 2021, they were like crisper, cleaner, better lines. Any of the ones that I bought recently have been slipping up slightly in terms of the crispness of the paint, but this 02 is just like absolutely horrendous. Look at that hair sculpt. That is just absolutely terrible. The goopiness of the paint. And I can't tell if it's a paint problem or if it's a sculpt problem or if it's both, but this is just like, if I ordered this promotional picture, if this was the promotional picture and I love 02 and I ordered that and I got this instead, I would be so pissed because it's not even remotely the same. I would be so disappointed too. And so she deserves the crown. She is the winner of the worst figure of 2022. Hands down. I got so many comments about this figure, and honestly, I understand. It's terrible. It's really bad. I don't understand how these companies can keep thinking that putting out trash like this is acceptable. It is one thing to doctor your promotional photos, okay? So Promotional photos are how people decide if they want to pre-order something, right? And so you want them to look good. Figures that are kind of still in the development stages or ones that aren't as strong as others, it's totally one thing to be manipulating the lighting or like editing it a little bit to make it look slightly better, okay? I personally think that they shouldn't have to do that. If you have a good figure, it just photographs well in general. But I do understand that in order to sell a product, sometimes you need to edit things a little bit and have a little movie magic come along with that. This, however, is completely just not the same figure. Like they made a really, really nice prototype and they said, yep, this is what we're selling. And people bought that thinking that that was what they would get, and they got this instead. That is the part about figure collecting that I don't like. And I don't like that companies can get away with doing that. So yes, sorry to anyone who has the 02 Pop-Up Parade. She is a travesty and is a stain on the Pop-Up Parade name. Obviously, you know, in the community, you only want to talk about positive things, about figures that turned out really well, but I think it was kind of interesting to look back on like really terrible ones too. I just find it entertaining. In other news though, we did recently hit 700 subscribers on this channel, which is super, super exciting. Thank you guys so much for being here, for clicking subscribe. It really means a lot to me. I am working through a lot of stuff in my personal life right now, and so it is really, really good for me to have this space to come to where I can just talk about figures and be just like excited about something. And so thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for being here. 700, that is absolutely insane. So thank you so much. This video, if my chronological timeline works out, will be coming out just a week before my 2023 pre-orders video. And so if you are interested in seeing what I've got pre-ordered for 2023, please hit the subscribe button, have your notifications turned on. That'll be coming next week. But that is all from my big dumb face today. So as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the flip side.